whispering about random things. Thanks for tuning in. Hey y'all, so yesterday I watched this movie called After Yang. Well, yesterday wasn't my first time watching it. I actually watched it on a plane, but I think the flight was only like an hour and a half, so I didn't get to finish the movie. And like, this was like 3 months ago. And then like 2 days ago, my boyfriend was like telling me this story about an AI and like its feelings and whatnot. And then I was like, oh, you know what? I was on the plane like a couple months ago and I started a movie about an AI, but I never finished it. So I was like, want to finish it. So we did. And basically what the movie is about, it's set in the future, but it's like a society where when people adopt children, they also like go and buy an AI to like, so the adopted kid has a sibling and whatnot. It was very interesting, and the whole plot of the movie was the AI software like malfunctioned earlier than it should have. So like the AI like went kaput, you know, he just like died. So they were like trying to get him fixed, but he was like refurbished. And they were like going to all the other like AI stores, kind of like when your MacBook breaks down and you have to go to the Apple store, but this is like with an AI human type thing. But all of the stores are like, oh, we can't fix him, but you can like recycle his software and you can get a new one. But that family was like, no, we don't want a new one, like he was a part of our family, so like why would we just get a new one? Kind of like pets, you know, but like literally a sibling. So anyway, so like the dad had the option of like, you know, recycling the software and getting a new one, or he could donate the AI software to like a museum and they would like give him some cash, you know. So like he was debating on whether he could do that, but also he had like a little girl at home that missed her sibling, you know, was expecting her sibling to come back, you know, normal. So he had that on his hands and he was like dealing with it behind the family's back because he thought that he could get the AI fixed, but he wasn't really sure. And then like there was like this part where like he could access the AI's memories because the AI was like recording data and like, you know, taking note of things that it thought were memorable. And inside the memories he found that the AI actually like had its own life, like had a little girlfriend and everything. And he was like shocked, like not in a bad way. He was just like, wow, I never asked this AI like what his life was like. I thought he was just like a sibling to my daughter, but turns out the AI had a whole life. And it was just crazy, and I don't remember how it ended because I fell asleep in it. I always fall asleep in movies. It's like my thing. Like if a movie's on, it's gonna watch me. I'm not gonna watch it. It's gonna watch me sleep. So yeah, but it's a really interesting movie. You guys should check it out. It's called After Yang. But yeah, it was a really cool movie. The other day, it was my mom's birthday, so I went to celebrate with her. We went to like this like speakeasy cocktail bar. It was like designed as like a train. It was called Platform 18. It was really interesting. Like the designs were very intricate. I honestly felt like I was at a real train station, like going somewhere through like the Swiss Alps. They had like these giant screens that just showed like the forest and like you going through rivers. Like it was like a train simulator. It was crazy, and I actually think like that's kind of like what the future of like going out is headed towards, like virtual reality, like simulation set type things. It was quite interesting, and the drinks were pretty good. Oh, and also like the bartenders were like train conductors. They were like dressed up in cute little train conductor outfits, and it was like so cool. And they even had like smoke coming in the bar, and the train would go like choo choo, and then the smoke and like all the whistles. It was quite interesting. I really felt like I was immersed in another society. We also, like, the theme of my mom's birthday was like experiences. We didn't want to give her gifts because like she's so spoiled. We give her so much stuff, and like her house is only so big, it can only have so much stuff. So this year we just like did experiences. So we went to this other place called Bam Kasam, such a weird name, like you were like a tiny mouse going through holes of cheese. I'm not even kidding. Like there was giant Swiss cheese, like life-sized Swiss cheese cubes, and you had to crawl through them to try to find your way out of the room, or so I think. There was no rules or explanations, so you kind of just like do whatever you want. And like if you're like a womp 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 noise, that means you were playing the game wrong. But if you're like a da da da, that means that you were playing it right. There was this other room where we were like miners trapped underground, and we had to like blow up doors to go to the next room, and it was giving very much like the Chile miner accident in like 2010. Like I literally felt like one of those miners trapped underground. Like I had to like keep pinching myself and tell myself I was at Bam Kazam and like not actually stuck in a tunnel. It was kind of chaotic, and we had to use like, you know, I'm no scientist, but I guess like energy or something is like a conductor of electricity. So we like all had to hold hands under the tunnel and pump the TNT to like blast open the door. It's as chaotic as it sounds, and I wish I was making this up, but this is real life. This actually happened on my mama, I swear. Like this, I'm not making this up. How could I make this up? It's crazy, but it was so crazy. We had to blow up the doors, and then I just can't even explain the rest because it was so chaotic. And then there was another room where we were like in a spaceship, and it was the set design of this place. I'm talking top notch. I'm talking like world class set design. They actually make you feel like you're trapped in a spaceship, but we were in a spaceship, and we like all had these screens, and the screens had instructions of what we had to do, except the instructions were not for yourself. The instructions that came on your screen was for somebody else in the room. So you would literally say like nipple fibrillator turn off, and then like somebody has like the nipple fibrillator button, and like why would I use nipple fibrillator as an example? That was literally one of the names. Like I am not making this up. This place was chaotic. It was so fun, and like they give you like a 2-hour time limit of the whole place. There was like 17 different rooms, so like 17 different games, and you get 2 hours just to figure it all out. And when I tell you those 2 hours flew by, like when they came to tell us that we were out of time, I was honestly shook to my core, because I was like, how did I spend 2 hours? And we did not win a single game. It was so chaotic, but it was so much fun. And I think my mom really liked that for her birthday, because it was something different and it was something new, and it was just like a chaotic, a good time. I really loved it. And then when I came back to LA, because my life is just so chaotic, my friends convinced me to go out after, and like that was so crazy too. We went to this one bar, and it was like very European. Nothing wrong with Europeans, but I was just giving very much like partying with foreign exchange students, if that makes sense. Like lots of vaping, lots of house music, lots of yaws. Like it was very interesting. Like one thing I really like about Los Angeles is there's just all kinds of people here, so you could really run into just anyone from like a way different background, a different culture that you just never would have thought that you would have ran into. Like me, I'm a Texan, and if you know anything about Texans, is that we rarely leave Texas, and we just rarely have like outside knowledge of other people. Like we think everyone is a Texan. So like to move to a place like Los Angeles where there's all kinds of people, the Texan in me is just always shook, because I'm like, wow, the world is bigger than Texas. And I would have never thought that. Like honestly, I meet someone new every day living in this city, and it's just so crazy to me that I never would have thought of a place like Bulgaria. I didn't even know it existed. And that's the other thing about Texas, is they don't teach you geography. You just learn about Texas. So I was just really just mind blown when I found out there was more to the world than what if I was from where, like, that's the other thing too, living in LA, nobody thinks I'm from Texas. They always think I'm from somewhere else. So I'm like, wow, what if I really was from someone else? I bet I could speak a different language, and I bet I would know more about the world. Like, it's just something to think about, you know. But I don't regret anything about growing up in Texas. It's actually one of the best places to grow up. Like, little country living is the best. Like, I used to go mudding with my cousins when I was younger. Like, we would just drive a big truck like through a muddy field and just go in circles. It was so fun. And also, horseback riding is amazing. And also, one thing I really love about Texas is like little stupid holidays like Easter are really big deals. Like Easter head hunts, they're mega out there. You go out to a ranch and you look for eggs and you get a basket even when you're at my big age. Like, there's no age limit to getting a basket, an Easter basket in Texas. But here there is. Like, adults don't really celebrate that. I've realized, and it's kind of broken my heart, because in Texas, like, all those little religious holidays are so celebrated. But one weird thing about Texas is I really have no knowledge of Harry Potter. Like, I was never allowed to read any of those books because they were literally banned in Texas because of witchcraft. And like, when I meet people that are like, oh, you've never seen Harry Potter, you never read Harry Potter, I'm like, I'm from Texas, that was witchcraft. Like, I heard that kids were jumping off the roof after reading Harry Potter, and I believed that as a kid. Now as an adult, I'm like, ain't nobody jumping off the roof after reading Harry Potter. But they really told us that in Texas. It's crazy. Also, another thing, we were not allowed to have black nail polish on our fingers. No man or woman, like, they did not let kids have black nail polish. And that's just crazy to me, because I'm like, it's nail polish and it's just a shade after that. Like, Texas is a crazy school. Well, a crazy school, it's a crazy state, and their curriculum for schooling is crazy. But one thing I can tell you everything about Texas, like, the state flower is a bluebonnet, the state bird is a hummingbird, the state tree is a pecan tree. I know the Texas state pledge. I know everything about Texas. The state mammal is an armadillo. Did you know that an armadillo is a mammal? Because still to this day, when I think about it, it has shells like a roly-poly, and then a tail, and then a head like a chihuahua. But it's a mammal, apparently. And apparently, Texas, that's because it's the state mammal, you cannot harm an armadillo in Texas. If you hurt an armadillo, you will go to jail, and that is on period. They do not play about their armadillos, but you can murder anything else, which is just so crazy to me. Texas is an interesting place. I always feel like Sandy Cheeks from SpongeBob and Bikini Bottom, because like, I miss Texas too. Like, the ocean is no place for a squirrel. I really identify with that, because you just wanted to go home. And yes, people really do square dance in Texas, and they do love pecan pie. Like, that is not a lie. None of that stuff is a lie. And when I was a kid and I would watch that living in Texas, I would like, they're capping. Texas is not like that. But now that I'm older, I'm like, yes, Texas is just like that. They never lied. Like, cowboy boots, all that country shit, that is Texas. And if you've never been, I wouldn't tell you to visit, because there is nothing fun to do in Texas. Like, people always try to make small talk and be like, oh, I want to visit Dallas someday. I'm like, don't. Like, you made it this far. You do not need to go to Texas, because there is nothing in Texas for you, especially if you have lived in the West Coast or anywhere in your whole life. You never need to go to Texas. You will only think Texas is fun if you're from Oklahoma or Kansas, because if you're from anywhere else, you have no business being in Texas. And I mean that. Maybe Austin. Austin is a little cool, but I don't know. I haven't spent much time out there, but there there's nothing in Texas for y'all other than the aesthetic. Like, y'all should stay away. But I do love Texas. It was a contradicting message, but I love where I'm from, because one thing about Texas is they teach you, like, to be proud of Texas. They're like, you're a Texan. Texan used to be its own country, so you better act like it.